man. You see that Japan Expo news? I was like, there's two of them? Man. Could easily get both
There's two what?
shirts.
Oh, yeah. That does not surprise me, though.
It doesn't.
Did you just push us live?
I did. It's well, I mean, you know, it's good. We should know. We should know if it's working.
Why should we know if it? Why do we need to know if it works or not?
Sound wise, I guess.
It's not like we haven't done broken before.
I bet I would like to not be broken at 8.
That's fair.
I want to be broken at like 7:55 with 5 minutes to get me to fix it before 8.
Again, not that we've ever had to do that before.
We've always come on. I love I love our audience today. I love that they're getting the title. He should be.
I mean, I feel like we might need to like cut the title. Like those are two separate concepts that are very different.
Well,
Like one or the other might make sense.
the book said don't panic, but you should always carry your towel.
Well, Don't Panic was just on the cover of The Hitchhiker's Guide.
So you would know to not worry. It was comforting.
Exactly.
Don't carry towels.
Granted, it also said that we were only mostly harmless, and we've proven otherwise.
What was the other one? I saw one.
What was the other what?
A great quote about like. God, I'm gonna have to go find it because it was super solid. It was really good.
Because originally we were harmless, but then it got upgraded to mostly harmless. Paul, if you don't have your towel with you, then you're doing it wrong. You're supposed to have your towel with you at all times. I have a feeling that the infinite improbability drive is probably more relevant to this podcast, but
uh, you're probably right. Not gonna lie, you're probably.
a little disappointed you don't have a bowl of petunias with you.
Listen, I didn't have much time for the show. Oh, nothing travels faster than the speed of light, with the possible exception of bad news, which obeys its own special laws.
That is true.
It's so true. That book is just like that book's got so many great, just like one-off quotes.
Oh, it does. I mean, at work the other day, or last week at work, someone was doing a presentation, and on the opening slide, they had a picture of the world or the world map or something, and they had some quote, and I can't remember what the quote was, but it was the world map with this really terrible dolphin emoji, and all I could think of was "so long and thanks for all the fish."
I almost named the episode that. So, but I almost thought
that's our going out episode. We can't use that as a mid episode.
I was gonna say, if we use that though, people think we're quitting, and they'll be like, "Wait, what?" Although that would be a great prank, like fucking say, "All right, guys, see ya," and then next week do the show and be like, "Oh no, that wasn't. We weren't ending."
Maybe "so long and thanks for all the fish" should be the introduction to "I'm not gonna say anymore because I have a good idea."
Yeah. There you go. That's the list of commands you guys can play with until the show. Actually, the show should be going live now, so I might need to turn off some of those things. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to turn off gambling during the show, guys. That way, if people are asking legitimate questions and trying to be part of the conversation, I don't need people gambling.
Don't say anything, but I sent you my idea.
Oh, Chili, you can't give points. That's for me only. I should have taken that one off. I apologize. But there you go. Everybody got some points.
Fixed? No, the rank doesn't work, does it?
The rank? Oh no, the rank works. I fixed that.
Oh.
Yeah, let's see right now.
Can you change rank? Because I don't want to be a recruit.
What do you, I mean, sure. I can do that later. I mean, what do you want to be? Do you just want to be the top? You want to just be at the top already?
Well, of course.
Paul Metal hasn't been here an hour. You're still Chili should be a recruit though.
Nah, Chili hasn't been here for an hour either.
He hasn't? Oh no. Let's see. Currently, Shin, you're in the lead with the most points. And
obviously, I haven't spent them all.
Of Dragon's Deep has actually been here the longest though. He's 2.5 hours, so you'll beat him soon, don't worry.
I mean, I am physically here every single show, so I kind of have to. I mean, Paul, it's your fault for not coming out and watching the stream. There was plenty of streaming happening last week.
Let me make sure I'm recording. Last thing I need is are you not recording?
So even for all of this, and we actually got everything ready and set up, it's still like almost 8:05.
Yeah.
Started.
Well, now my off-site recording is not recording. Just not.
I'm actually curious to see how this lighting is going to work. I might just put the blind down.
Fortunately, I need my recording software to record, or else we can't. I mean, we can do it the other way, but it's not going to sound great. I want it to sound great, so I'm a stickler for good.
There, less dynamic lighting. And also, yeah, having it properly recorded, much better. Paul, you guys really do need a bot just to screw with people.
Yeah, I don't know why this thing's not recording. It's just choosing not to.
Did you hit the button that says record?
Yeah.
Do you have hard drive space?
That's what I'm looking for now.
Have you downloaded more RAM?
Have I downloaded more RAM? Let's see. I don't see why not.
I'm still trying to put together a PC build, but still waiting for deals. I was kind of disappointed because I saw the whole like NVIDIA Destiny 2 promotion thing, whereas if you buy certain NVIDIA graphics cards, you get Destiny 2 for free. But that apparently ends tomorrow, so it's not going to work out so well. Probably not buying a graphics card in the next day. Chili, I thought we were supposed to keep it a secret that you're actually a bot. You know, I could buy Destiny 2 with gold on World of Warcraft, but that would require me A, playing World of Warcraft, and B, having gold on World of Warcraft. Just overall, it's not a good thing.
It's also true. Say something.
Saying something?
All right, it's recording me, not you. So like, figure that out.
Is this the same thing with the you weren't getting Discord sounds earlier?
Yeah, but that
probably not working with Mr. Sound.
yeah, it's probably not working with Mr. Sound. You're absolutely right. It's local. Whatever it is, it's local. Cable input. That's my out. So all right, hold on. I know this is supposed to start.
So for all of the people who are here, but we haven't actually started, this is somewhat normal. Also, this week will not be a spoiler cast. We'll probably be doing that in 1 to 2 weeks, depending on when everyone else decides to break the silence, whatever it would be, embargo, not like the self-imposed embargo, basically. Usually we give about 2 weeks from new content release until we start discussing it, just to give everyone time to actually experience it without spoilers. In 2 weeks or so, we will probably have a full cast based on our experiences.
I think I got it working.
I
Hi.
don't know. Can you hear myself and can you hear Mr. Sound?
Hello? It's recording me, I think. Hold on, let me go back and listen to it real yeah, it's working. I should hear you as well.
I don't know. Can you hear myself and can you hear Mr.
Yep. Hey, I fixed. That's what happens when my computer resets over the weekend and changes all my audio settings, and I didn't check here. So yeah. Record. Okay, we're recording now. Oh.
This is my voice.
Yeah, I know. Perfect. It's not like we had anything else to do.
Do you have your towel nearby?
I do now. All right, let me mute you.
Mine's in the next room over, so.
Mute you so we can get started.
No.
Today is Monday, June 26th. Try that again. Today is Monday, June 26th, 2017. This is episode 42 of Maelstrom Radio.
Maelstrom Radio. With your hosts, Flatus and Shinder.
And welcome to Maelstrom Radio. My name is Flatus. With me, as always, this host finally unlocked the faster mount speed of the new housing district. You can say he's going to be gone. He's going to be Shirogane in 60 seconds. It's damn it! It was so good!
You almost had that
So
one. It was a good one.
No, fuck it. Hold on. No, wait, hold on. Wait, hold on.
We had to start the episode already.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. And welcome to Maelstrom Radio. My name is Flatus. With me, as always, this host unlocked faster mount speed in the new housing district. I guess you could say he's going to be Shirogane in 60 seconds. It's shit. Nailed it the second try.
I mean, to be fair, it took 2 times to do the welcome into the podcast and 2 times to do the intro. Is this like twice the episode?
Yeah, it's a lot. 42
Did you not read the title of the episode? Like, don't panic.
Calm
down.
Don't panic.
No, Chili, we don't fix things like this in post.
No,
it
I
makes
could.
it much more realistic.
I could fix it in post, but we're our comedy is just so palpable.
Like, for previous examples, there is the episode we don't talk about, which is still fully able for you all to listen to, but it is a horrid mess of screeching.
Mm-hmm.
We put it up, though.
We did. It was a learning experience, if anything. Listen, when I tell
We
people,
have put everything since then, we have never had a worse episode.
It's true. It's also because we spent a lot of money and I spent a lot of time fixing things and making sure things worked. Except, our recorder, which now works. So,
No, Chill, it wasn't your show.
No.
When you guys were on, we had fixed most of those problems.
It's true. I would listen, like, over here, after that show, it was all like me over here doing this, just working on my stuff.
But it's a whole new world out there. These kids are talking in terms we don't understand. They're in front of their video boards.
I was in front of my video board, fixing it all. So, but that's not why you're here. You're not here to talk about us, the background on how we record a podcast. You're here because...
the pre-show.
Yeah, that is the pre-show. You're here because we do a show called Maelstrom Radio, which is a Final Fantasy XIV podcast. So that means we talk about
Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy.
It's true.
Yeah.
We use our video boards to talk about Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy. All right. All right, so let's get started. So just to let you all know out there, is our lovely background is Kugane. We got to the top of the tower. We'll get more on that. First, FC News.
It's Kugane at night.
It's Kugane at night. It's after dark here with Kugane, it would Priestley Vodka in chat. What did I just walk into? We're not sure at the moment. We're not sure.
Don't worry, we're still above the line today.
Yeah, so far. You know. If anything, we probably hit the improbability drive before we started this show. This is gonna be a great episode. Anyway, our FC news. So Garuda Gang just keeps getting people. People are messaging me. I had 3 new people join. They messaged me like, "Hey, I've heard about your FC. I'm not happy with mine." And listen, I'm not here to talk ill will on other FCs, but I have so far I've heard like, "Hey, no, everyone left for Warcraft," or "Nobody's here playing with me anymore. I heard about you guys." You know, I heard, and then I tell them like, "Well, how did you hear about us?" And
or
most
like you have to be on like Balmung or one of the other servers experiencing insanely high queue time. I think the most time we ever had to wait was like 15 minutes. It was like 600 people. Yeah. And that was like launch day. It's Friday, Saturday.
It's true. So, but people are joining us. We're starting the FC static. The post is up. We got people signing up so far. I don't know if I saw Shin's name on it yet, but I'm sure he will tinker and put out his white mage or whatever healer he wants to heal with to heal. So yeah, it's going good. And that's Garuda Gang. So yeah. Anyway, let's get into some news. So if you've been hiding under a rock, or deep in a well someplace, I guess, Stormblood launched this past week, and if you weren't watching one of our streams of us doing stuff, you were probably playing the game, and we wouldn't blame you because it's fantastic. So, but that doesn't mean that there isn't. Yeah, that doesn't mean there isn't any news to talk about. There is some news out there, shockingly. Final Fantasy Square Enix is running. Hey, jeez, I don't know what's going on. Square Enix is running another Welcome Back campaign between June 19th. So it's already started, and it's ending July 20th. So if you have friends and they're like, I don't know, I've been hearing good things about Stormblood, and you're like, hey, go back to the game. Have them come back. Let them try it out. Also, Fly the Falcon campaign. I'm all for this. I love this idea.
There are so many things wrong with this campaign.
Now, here's the thing. Purchase and register a copy of Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood and subscribe to at least 90 days of playtime, which, that's fine. That's excluding...
Basically, if you sub for 90 days sometime between now and end of August.
Yeah, you'll get.
Which means if you're playing for the entire period, you will be guaranteed to meet these requirements.
Yeah, and even if you're like if you're somewhere, if you fall in the middle and like you'll fall a few days short, they'll round you out to get the mount. So it's not. Don't worry about that. They have a little disclosure like, hey, don't worry, we'll round up or down to make sure that you'll get the mount as well. So, I think the mount's cool looking. I mean, it looks like a. Why are you shaking your head?
Look at the mount. It just
what? It looks like a what? All right. So if you guys haven't seen the mount, it looks like a vibrator. I'm just saying. Just saying.
When you see this, it's a terrible, terrible idea.
At first, I was like, "Hey, Shin, that thing looks like a vibrator." Shin's like, "Why did you ruin it for me?"
You can't unsee it. It's terrible.
You can't. It's great. And the best part is that it's got wheels on the ground, helicopters in the sky, and then like little sub propellers in the water.
I like the concept of it having 3 different modes for land, sea, and air.
Yes.
Mostly because we haven't really seen that with mounts prior. Like all of the flying mounts we've seen have basically the same animations underwater, which from a development perspective is really good. But this is kind of cool that we could have different versions of mounts for different modes.
I would enjoy that.
It just would be a lot better if they could choose a slightly different design. Maybe put like little fins on the sides or something.
Yeah, like little. Give it something. Give it something. I'm so sorry. I fucking ruined that mount for everybody.
There. It goes well with my ghost sperm then.
Oh yeah, it does. You can actually. What you should do is get a bunch of people together. Some people in the rockets and then other people. No.
Do we really want to pass that line this close to the beginning?
Oh no. Oh,
I know exactly where we're going because I went the same direction. I was like, oh, I got a good screen. No, let's not do that.
Get the Ralgar Reach like Fat Chocobo lineup, some of those things. Anyway, Final Fantasy XIV will be at Japan Expo in Paris, France. They out there. Paul Metal, don't steal our ideas. They are trademarked. Everything on this show is trademarked.
I mean, if you give us credit, then by all means.
Yeah, and then we won't sue you for candy. I don't know.
One of our greatest ideas, which was the Poplidos, the cyborg Olafel, that was Klaus who put it together.
Yeah.
Phoenix Down.
Show me the paperwork. We got paperwork.
We have recordedness.
Yeah.
Ish.
Listen, I live in America. Anything is game at this point. This place is fucking, it's like the fucking Thunderdome in this bitch. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. So if you're gonna be at Japan Expo in Paris, you can get an I Beat Lakshmi or I Beat Susanna shirt, or both. So, you know, congrats to them. I still have yet to get my I Beat Proto Ultima shirt. It's okay though, one day.
We did. I was on the ground most of the time, but we beat it.
We beat it. It's true. We were. So, it's a bit of sad news. I messaged him directly the other day, to give him my condolences because I know it's hard to lose somebody. But Scarlett, on Twitter, who is a freelance writer for IGN for Final Fantasy XIV. He's been on Phoenix Down Radio. He's a great guy, very funny. His grandmother passed, and we want to send him our condolences because losing a family member is never easy. You know, he told me she was 93, so she had a very full life. But it is, you know, it sucks. It sucks losing somebody. So it's hard to hear. And yeah, like I said, man, if you ever just need a laugh or you ever just want to hang out, our Discord's open, so you're always welcome to hang out with us if you need to get your mind off stuff. So, and that goes for anybody out there. Just, you know, it's on our Twitter. Well, and if you don't have Twitter, you can email us. We'll send you the link. You can get in there. Yeah, everybody in chat's sending sad faces and all sorts of stuff. I'm not sure what the other stuff is. I'm just gonna
yeah.
I don't know. So let's talk Stormblood. Let's get in there. So all of our talks will be spoiler free. Oh, I see now. Thanks, Shin. Shin sent me a message. Everyone's pressing F to pay respects. So, sorry, I'll let you know. Just let you know.
There's no way you can actually say that verbally without it sounding terrible.
Yeah, I know. It sounds not great.
No.
It does sound terrible, but I'm sure they mean it in the best. The best.
I agree.
I'm sure they mean the
intention's
best.
There.
Yes. I'm starting to question the type of people that come out and listen to our show. Starting to question it. Unfortunately, I think most of them are people we know and gone on their shows. I don't know. Maybe we need to move to the suburbs and meet new people. All right. Our first impressions of Stormblood overall will be spoiler free. Next week will be our spoiler cast, but we'll base that on other community shows. We don't want to be the guys that come out there and start busting out spoils and be like, you guys are assholes. Like, we're sorry. And just, no. But if somebody else like breaks that bridge, if everybody else is breaking that like seal, then we'll fly through together, because I'm sure Shin and I have probably very differing opinions about the story and everything else. But let's
usually, as a rule of thumb, the community kind of leaves about 2 weeks or so from when the content's released until the time that we spoil it. So that's roughly what we're kind of adhering to. The unspoken rule between the podcasting community.
Yeah. Mostly all the community, really. But so let's jump into the zones, because I think we got
Wait, don't you want to do first impressions?
Oh, like just our first like general impressions of like the game itself. Like, are we talking
Yeah, I mean, like overall, what did you think of Stormblood?
about?
We
Man,
have both finished it finally.
we did. I am very. This is gonna sound so weird. I will say that Stormblood is probably my favorite Final Fantasy game, and I'm saying this since probably 8. And 8 I liked, but not as much as 7. So which I'm not saying 7, like I'm just saying like I'm like one of those people that actually liked 8, but it's not like my favorite Final Fantasy. But damn if Stormblood isn't fucking kind of great. Like just the way they handled it was beautifully done. Yeah, after Rob on EX loved it. Yeah, so I'm not gonna say like we're not gonna talk about the early access part because we did find out later that was due to DDoS, and sometimes you don't find about that shit out. It's like you can't know about that shit until sometimes later. If it's
You have no idea that you can't expect a DDoS attack in order to play in your game. But
Sure.
to be fair, and to give them a lot of credit, even talking to a few people at work and stuff about this, for their servers to be as solid as they were on Friday and Saturday and Sunday, while they were experiencing this DDoS attack. Yes, there was a whole bunch of people that couldn't experience certain content, but in the other case, like for everything else to be up, that is huge kudos to their networking team and their development staff.
And probably a big up to the new server server banks and the new tech that they went to. I'm pretty sure that helped in a lot of ways, but it still sucked. Don't get me wrong. Like I understand like a lot of people took time off work, like took the weekend off to do that stuff, and they couldn't get past it until like late, maybe mid Sunday, early Monday morning. So it does bite. I understand, but
I do have a big caveat with this in that it's early access. It's before everyone goes on, and you know there's going to be a spike of people going on. If you're expecting to have perfect experiences on day one, don't take that day off.
yeah,
Like, you should know better first. Anything that you have, whenever something launches, whether it's the latest game, whether it's a new game, whether it's an existing game, whether it's a DLC patch, whatever, you know that those servers are going to get hammered on day one. There's always going to be a problem.
I'm glad you just kept to the video games. So you're like when something launches, I'm like childbirth. Like, but you sucked at video games. So...
Usually, launch and childbirth are not two words that put together.
I mean, I don't know. Since the science not there yet. Houston, it's a girl. Pooh!
You know, I think I'd probably go with something along the lines of Houston, we have a problem if my child is launching.
Run that by us again. No, I don't want to. I don't want to say it. Listen, I don't need lawsuits. I don't need any sort of lawsuits or a group. I'm on list already, all right? I'm pretty sure I'm on a list.
You have to remember that Flatus is from the US, where there are lists and could probably get sued.
Yeah.
All of us who don't live in the US are a little bit more able to...
Something wrong with that boy. Something wrong with that boy. Yeah, it's about right. That's probably a good way to describe something wrong with me. So yes, overall, there
was quest text, I think, in Stormblood, something about like a bouncing baby.
There was.
I can't remember what it was from, but I do remember that, and I was like, maybe we'll find it for spoiler cast because that was great.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very, very early on the quest line, so yeah. I feel like most people we don't even know what it's from, so it's not really spoilery now.
I don't know what's going on with Paul Metal in chat. It's like, I'm fucking done. I quit podcasting now.
It's okay. When you launch your next one,
just know that we'll be there. All right. So I will say this, that compared over to Realm Reborn and Heavensward, this felt the most Final Fantasy, and that is something Yoshi P did make a mention of yet again. I brought this up so many times, but he did make a mention of it at our FanFest and other FanFests that this was going to be the dungeons, the zones, the story was going to be more Final Fantasy centric, and it was. It was where I feel like Heavensward was more about Estinian, and like I don't want to say we necessarily played a bigger back seat. Like I don't want to say we're entirely in the back seat, but I felt Estinian and our other Ysael and Alphino were more of the main characters, and we were just there along for that ride. Where I felt like even though this was Lisa's which I'm gonna say her name. This is
we've already we've passed the spoilers for Lisa.
Yeah, so this is Lisa's story. I feel that this was also a lot. I felt more involved with the story because I had more options to choose dialogue. I had like way more than I did in Heavensward or Realm Reborn. Like I felt way more. Like I felt a connection with. Like I can't. I'm gonna keep it spoiler free. I'm just saying there was this part where I felt a connection with Yugiri, and that's all I'm saying. Like I felt like as a character, I may be married to her. I don't even know yet. I don't know what happened, but I don't know. I may be marrying Yugiri. I'm just saying. Just saying. I don't know. Oh God, Chili chat. Oh God, move around be just me. Yeah, exactly. Vladimir in chat. Not sure if that's Putin or some guy just named Vladimir, but immersion was cranked up. Yes, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah, the immersion in Stormblood was definitely cranked up. I felt a lot more connection to all the characters this time around. Like I didn't feel like there was a character where I was like, I can give and take that character. I felt way more in tune. Like even the bad guys, like I generally like dislike them. Not in a, I don't like the bad guys, but like generally just I dislike them because of the way they acted. So
there were certain duties and cutscenes that were very, very satisfying, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, there was very, very much.
But like on the other hand, I don't know if this is necessarily because we haven't had a major story point at this point. Like Stormblood is fresh; it's new. We did that entire storyline. We've only been invested in it for just over a week now. If you were involved with early access. So we really haven't had the time to get to know what's going on or to get involved with anything major or long-term. I do find that there were a few times during Heavensward, particularly around 3.3 and the Dragon's Song War ending, that felt a little bit more climactic and a little bit more in your face than a lot of Stormblood, which is kind of hard to compare considering that's one small patch compared to the whole storyline. And there were definitely parts of Stormblood that felt like that. I do want to say the ending was very, very impactful in terms of, I won't say anything to avoid spoilers, but the ending was something.
Yeah, it was. So I want to save maybe some of this other stuff I want to talk about maybe for next week, because
we'll definitely do that for spoiler cast because we've got huge opinions on this.
There's some stuff. But all right, let's
I'm glad that we kind of paused and we kind of did most of it together so that we could see it and be like, did that just happen?
Yeah. It's good because I'm like, I start to question things and he's getting it from because I've played a lot of Final Fantasy games, so there are some stuff where I'm like, all right, that's very Final Fantasy tropey, but I have to give him a lot of credit. Like they did pull a lot of like, I don't know if the writing was on point, but it's just so good.
One thing that I did find that was a lot different with this expansion was at least in my opinion, there was a lot more cutscene. It was used very well and it told a lot of story, and maybe this has to do with the way that we've done, or that we've seen Final Fantasy in the past. Maybe this is more Final Fantasy-esque, but there was a lot more cutscenes I found throughout this whole storyline. So it made the whole experience more cinematic, while not really. Roughly the number of quests is similar to previous expansions.
Yeah, it's it was solid. It was just solid overall. Like it really was. Like I was a little I think a lot of us were going into this expansion really worried about where it was going to head, even story-wise. But so let's but you know what, like I'm just gonna save for next week because I think we can expand a lot about on any of those thoughts next week. So let's go through the zones. First and foremost, we go through, we leave the Shroud and we enter Castrum Oriens, right? Is that am I right?
Yeah, I don't want to go too much into the specific spots because the zone is Garabanya.
Yeah, so we'll just say Garabanya because we don't want to, like, yet again, we're trying not to name like specific zones yet again. That's very actually, and the reason being is because a lot of it is spoiler, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody that's listening to this that you're still going through the story. So I don't want to ruin anything for you guys.
We probably shouldn't do necessarily the order either.
I can switch it up. Don't worry.
Yeah, let's go through zone by zone.
Okay.
So you can start with Garabanya.
Garabanya, Middle Eastern influence. I like that. I think very although the desert I didn't feel, I think it was still beautiful. I don't know why. Like I still felt like the zone was really nice. I felt like it was the architecture, like when we got to architecture, it was beautifully done. I was pronouncing it like gear. Is it not pronounced like gear?
Did I not say Garabanya?
It's Garabanya, right?
Yeah. That's what I thought. That was my impression.
Not Euro, like not it's like Euro, right? The Eurobanya. I'm pretty sure it's gear. Tarongi Canyon, yes. Chili in chat, like yeah, exactly. Very like. It made me feel like there was like this open world out there, and there was more. It also something I want to point out that I can't say because it's story related, but it was interesting. It makes me think that there's more hidden things in this world, than we are aware of. So then we can move on to the locks, which it was really cool. Yet again. Oh, do you have anything on Garabanya yourself? Like, just skip it over.
I thought Garabanya was kind of interesting. Like the way that they did the layout for it was different. Like it is, you're coming from East Shroud there right into Garabanya, which we know that whole region is much more dry, much more desert-like. But it's a really interesting transition because they're going from the Shroud, which is a really, really heavy, dense forest, into this more barren world. Which is not to say it's barren, but it's interesting to see how they do kind of those more desert-like zones, because it is kind of hard. If you just have a whole bunch of desert out there, it's not really interesting. But they managed to do the whole transition, plus add a lot of cool little features and landmarks to the area.
Yeah. And you can like, and some of the attention to detail was like walking through and seeing the forest fade into the desert. Like it wasn't just like you walk through and instantly desert. Like there was this like you could tell like very, very much a transition, which I enjoyed. I think that was a nice, like it's the little things when like you, and some people may have not even realized that, but like you start to realize like, oh wait, we're still some forest, and all of a sudden it tapers off into the desert, which I enjoyed. The locks I found really cool because it was just like this salt field, I guess, covered in.
That's really what it was. And jokes aside from all of that, it was a really interesting architectural zone. To the point of I didn't like it because of all of the hard areas to kind of get to at time. But in terms of exploring and finding different things, I think it was really well put together.
Yes.
And one of the things that they did experiment with, and this isn't really spoilery, but because we know that this came as part of the expansion, just like they did in Heavensward, with a lot of the zone movement was linked to flying. That was the new thing that they launched with that. We had the Sea of Clouds and all those different areas that focused a lot on flying, getting between the different islands. We got in this expansion swimming, and they did focus a lot on swimming, not to the degree that they put swimming everywhere, but to the degree that it kind of let them play with it as a mechanic to see what kind of works and what doesn't.
Yeah, which I like.
It was implemented really interestingly in the logs, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So we can go ahead and move to the Azim steps. Steep steps. I'm gonna go steps.
Steps.
If you played World of Warcraft, this place reminds me of Nagrand, which was this beautiful open zone, green rolling hills. Just a beautiful, I wanted to live there. Like, I just wanted to put up a little shack out near like a little riverbed and just be like, this is where I'm living out the rest of my days. Nobody bother me. I'm moving over here. It was just gorgeous. It was just there was one point where the fog rolled in. I was out on a hill and the fog rolled in, and I posted that screenshot on my Twitter. That the fog, it could be my PC and I have a higher end graphics card, and maybe like I don't know if it looked different on a lower end PC. There wouldn't be as thick of fog, but to see like this open zone, like you could see, I mean, if you have a good distance, you could see from one end of the zone to the other. And you could see pretty far, but when the fog rolled in, I couldn't see maybe digitally 5 feet in front of my character, like what the zone would be around the fog area. And I thought that was really interesting, that like how weather affected that zone. So, but beautiful, like I said, very, very hilly, very just interesting area.
I found that it should be, especially for a steps style zone, like just that geography is really interesting, and seeing how they kind of made, again, the landmarks part of the way that they've introduced things, how you kind of went across everything. It seems to be something that they're doing with a lot of these zones, is giving them multiple styles almost. Like we could definitely see this in the Azim Steppes, where we kind of have that whole steppes ecosystem where it's lots of plains, but there's also mountainous regions or the cliffs, and there's also our video is broken right now.
It's fine, it's fixed now.
Okay. And then you have other areas that are kind of linked, like the Azim Steppes on the map there links or is directly beside a huge desert, and you do see that as part of the zone.
I completely agree with you. And plus I could tell that the steppes is very, like, some of the architecture was very Tibetan.
Well, it's that whole concept of, okay, I actually we do know this. It's the whole concept of the nomadic tribes that live there.
Almost Nepal. Like I would almost say, like even like you could look at Nepal and you could see like
It's that nomadic feel.
Yeah, and it beautiful, like just gorgeous sound, gorgeous. Next up, Yangsha. I'm pretty sure I'm still murdering that name, but
Yangsha's.
I liked Yangsha. I did. I liked that. Even I don't want to say story wise, but I like how they had set it up. But yet again, it's more traditional in the zones. Like this is where we see like the rice fields and like some. I would say, like, instead of it being more of like a city, this was very much like the country we were in this time. Like green rolling hills, somewhat mountainous.
I think this is a really interesting zone, just because like a lot of times in MMOs, they try to make the zone very, very interesting in itself. And really, this isn't a zone that stands out. There's nothing terribly... There's some really cool things that are in the zone, and visually it's amazing, but really this is kind of here's like a place or a town, and there's villages, and there's people living on the outside, like outskirts of the villages, and they have rice fields, as you say. Like this is roughly what it would kind of look like, and they didn't really care about so much like, oh, where's mob placement, where's this. Like it feels more like a natural place where people would inhabit.
Yeah.
So like if we didn't have any story in any of this, I don't think this would fit so well into the game. But because of the story and because of how the whole backstory plays, it's a very, very interesting experience.
Yes. There was one section of Yangsha I really liked, and I want to call it, I want to say it's the Rainbow Pools or the Rainbow Chasm. Not chasm.
Oh, it was at the just north of the things.
Yes. Yeah.
Rainbow Pools, I think, is right.
Yeah. So
prisms.
If you guys don't know why they call it that, take your character, get on your mount, fly straight up in the area, and look down, and it's gorgeous. It's this, like I said, yet again, going back, it's those little touches of detail. Like, oh, that's cool. I wonder why they call it that. You may not even, like, running through there and questing, you don't notice it, but it took me, like, stopping and trying to do the Foxy Lady. Get it. Let me touch on that.
Spoilers. I can't tell everyone what the fox says yet.
But it took me into, and then I looked down and I was like, that's really cool. Like, it's just these beautiful, like, little, like, pools of rainbow going into the center. It was just gorgeous sound. Move on to the Ruby Sea. Another like, I don't know what they did to make sunsets so beautiful, but they nailed it.
This one was really, really interesting to me because really the part of the zone, like, it's the Ruby Sea. The majority of this zone is water, and really, if you look at this zone from above land, it's very boring. There's almost nothing to do above land. It's very barren. There's a couple little outposts or areas that you kind of would be interested in, but for the most part, it's a very uninspiring zone. But there's the sea.
Yeah. Well,
and I'll leave it at that because the sea is awesome.
The
sea
this
zone in particular.
Yeah. I will say there are two landmarks that really stick out here to me. One is the Jenga Tower. Which, by all means, I still truly believe that the guy guarding it says, he's like, you have no business here, leave. I really do believe that's our next, our deep dungeon. There's no way. That tower is above the flying part of the zone. I'm just saying, it's very odd. It's very odd that the guy's sitting there in front of that place says you can't even have access to this thing. Very, like, I'm just saying, I feel it in my bones. Also, I want to say the volcanic island. That's the what? The what?
It looks like a dog.
The volcano? The volcano looks like a dog? I thought it looked like a bomb.
No, it had to be.
Huh. See, to me it looked like one of the bombs, like just in a volcano shape. Because it had the open spiky mouth.
Spoilers, we can get to this next time.
Alright. Alright, so let's move on to Kagane, the new city. Boy, did I love Kagane.
I think we should kind of hold off on Kugane a little bit because I believe when we first zoned in, and my entire reaction was just like, holy shit, this is, wow.
The zone is...
Kugane is beautiful.
Yeah.
This dark nighttime screenshot is horrible because you can't see how beautiful it is.
Yeah,
it's a great screenshot. You just can't tell the beauty in the dusk.
Yeah, it's... Now, but even at night, the way it lights up, the city's gorgeous. It's like, I gotta give him so much credit. Like, don't get me wrong, Ishgard is beautiful, but Ishgard to me is very medieval in its design. So it's very...
It's reserved.
I was gonna say depressing, but not like... But no, but it should feel that way, right? Like Ishgard should feel, because of the way...
Feel depressing.
Really? It's constantly snowing. It's cold.
It has nothing to do with medieval. It has to do with other things.
Well, whatever. It's still depressing. But not like I'm depressed going... I don't know how to... Like, the zone just feels very... I don't want to say... Like, all right, for example...
Oppressive?
Yes, we'll go with that, I guess. There's two, like, the upper and lower class. But Ishgard is subdued.
Subdued, yeah.
Yeah, subdued, I'll give that.
Not oppressive in the social standing, like oppressive, like it's just kind of
Yeah, like
always
it's just
bearing down on you.
yeah, it's just a very like guess I'm in Nishgard. Where Kugane was like, man, it's a bustling city. They filled it with NPCs. I love walking around there. It's like, man, this place is full of NPCs. It's great. Like, even when I don't think people are like, all right, if people weren't playing this game and I walked through there as a solo player, I would still think that place is a living city because I feel there's a lot of people there. Now, Ishgard had a lot of open where I didn't feel like there were a lot of people there. Like I found one or two people in some places, or like they congested certain points, but
I think the whole subdued and quiet nature of it also did it, but I think partially as well, when like even if it wasn't so subdued, like I think Square didn't quite have the right number of NPCs around, or it didn't really feel like the city was terribly alive, which kind of played into the whole atmosphere of Heavensward, with it being very, very dark, or maybe not dark or depressing, but a city that's currently at war with, or has been at war for hundreds of years. Whereas Kugane and Stormblood, they haven't been at war for all these times. They have been oppressed to some degree, but they haven't been at war. Kugane in particular, like leaving out the whole Alamigo Doma issues, which we're not touching in this podcast because that was 100% of the expansion.
Vladimir in chat says, modeled after the Edo era cities of Japan. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Also, Vladimir, I think may be a history major. I'm not sure, but if you've been watching chat, pretty sure history major. Or really likes the History Channel. One of the two things is happening. Not sure.
I mean, it's
also Doctor Who. Also Doctor Who fans, so they're okay in my book. So and plus I will say this now, since we are on Kugane, do you want to talk about
no spoilers?
All right. Really, is that down there? Oh, it's down there probably somewhere. The peaks. Whew.
Probably my least interesting zone of the expansion.
First time I found out that I could fall off a high place. Like
the peaks kind of felt like it was half thought of. Like it doesn't really.
It feels very underutilized. That's what it is.
Yes, like there was some important points that happened in the peaks, but it doesn't feel like it was used a whole lot. Like, not to compare it in the same sense, but kind of like Azys Law and Heavensward, it was this huge, like Azys Law was this huge sprawling zone with so much going on, and it was so interesting, and you were there for a total of like 30 minutes as you completed the last bits of the quest line. Like that zone was so heavily underutilized, and it could have been so much more. I'm not so sure if the peaks could be the same sort of thing, but I did find it was very underutilized.
I will say this though, the peaks as a zone though has some of the more interesting architecture. Like it's got the pyramid that's both going like going upside down, like connecting into it. Like it's very interesting. There's a lot going on there. I don't think we know it yet. I think that's more. I would say that the peaks may have more of a story to tell in the forthcoming patches, because I think there's a lot there that we haven't seen yet.
I could definitely see that.
Did I knock everything out, or did you? All right, that's good with me. Yeah, all right. And last but not I was about to almost said last but not reach. Reach, yeah, last but not reach. Ralgar's Reach.
I don't want to go too far into this because it is fairly integral to the whole storyline.
Yes. What I can and will talk about is that it is probably like it is. We could safely say this is. This is not even a spoiler because I think if you've looked at the website, you can probably much tell that Kugane is the city, and then that Ralgar's Reach is your Mordona or your Idleshire or Idleshire. So that being said, out of those types of places, like a Mordona or a Idleshire, I think Ralgor's Reach, to me, I like it a lot more. Like, I feel like I'm way more down for Ralgor's Reach. I don't know why. I just dig it.
It'll be interesting to see how they deal with Ralgor's Reach and what happens with it now.
Yes.
Lots of stuff in the story, but yeah, like, it's going to be interesting to see how this progresses. Like, we've seen Mordona go from tent city to bustling little hub. We saw Idleshire go from this little place with goblins to now a fully constructed city, effectively.
Valdemir in chat, it's the Final Fantasy version of the Star Wars Rebel base from Empire. That's how I feel. But you know, not wrong. It is also Empire, best movie out of just saying, out of those three, Empire was the best one. If you want to argue with me that, you can tweet us at Maelstrom_radio.
Another time.
All right. Or at Flatus if you just want to argue with me about Star Wars. So
I think we should touch on Dungeons and Trials very, very briefly, although not in too much detail or anything, because there was a lot of stuff in them.
Yeah, there was a lot of story in them too, so I can't really.
Both from like a time perspective, in that we are getting close to the time that we should start wrapping things up, and we still have two major topics that I really want to discuss.
Sure, we can do that. So we're gonna avoid dungeon names. I'm not sure how the hell we're gonna do that. So all right, we'll just.
Overall, dungeons were really, really interesting. I think there was a lot of experimental bits that they did with these dungeons. Like, there were new mechanics and things that I think they were just trying out to see what kind of sticks, what players have fun with, and really just to kind of change it up from the existing mechanics and experiences that we've had so far. Like pretty much every other dungeon so far, it was very straightforward level design, very railroaded. Like, you go from point A to point B. There's no real decision making, nothing that's kind of different. But they did introduce some interesting mechanics, both in bosses and outside of those bosses. And I think they kind of introduced them at very interesting levels. So like, the earlier dungeons were, of course, a little bit easier than the later dungeons. And I don't know about your experiences as a tank, but as a healer, I found that the earlier dungeons were a little bit harder, especially since I was coming from an excessively overgeared healer at 60 to now effectively at gear or slightly undergeared for these dungeons. And I'm not quite ready to, by the time I hit 70, it felt a lot better. And doing the 70 dungeons, I didn't really have any problems with any of the healing, but getting up to that point, both from having to learn from the class changes and the new mechanics and everything, just felt a little bit worse.
Same. I would early on, I would say, because I remember running the first dungeon and having the issue of holding aggro, but as I swapped out gear and got used to my new setup and rotations, that eased. But I agree with you. I think they are now very much experimenting with certain mechanics, bosses, and how things are handled, which is great. It's things we've talked about on the show a lot. Experiment with the dungeons, make some new cool decisions, and go out there with it, because you should. I mean, you need to, because you can't have the same thing over and over again. You have to be experimented with. Like, I think and plus I will say this, the dungeons are way more, even though running from point A to point B, but way more interactive, if that makes any sense. Like, very much more cinematic in the feel of them, much like the expansion overall. Like, that even spreads into the dungeons. I feel like they're very much more cinematic. I feel like all of the dungeon is a dungeon. Like, I feel like there's stuff coming, there's traps, there's there's just cool stuff coming at me, and it's great. That's a great feeling. If they can keep that momentum with the dungeons and keep going like that in that direction, I'm excited for the future patches and the future dungeons.
I think there's definitely some interesting aspects that they've added to dungeons in this expansion, and I hope that they continue changing things and updating things. There's still a lot that I think they could do with dungeons or dungeon-esque features that would make it a little bit more interesting, such as we've talked before, like adding puzzles and stuff during dungeons. We haven't seen anything that's quite that different from the current status quo, so like I would like to see that still in the future, but there's definitely signs that they are pushing some new ideas into these dungeons.
Yeah, which is great.
And it's nothing that's terrible. It's not innovative stuff. Other games have done this, so it's not like they're trying out completely radical ideas. It's just that we are starting to see some of these more unique experiences pop up.
Yeah, very much so. Like some of them, like I've seen in Warcraft used, but that's fine, because when I saw them in Warcraft, I was like, that's cool. I think having seen them done here, now there's one boss in one dungeon that I've personally never seen. Warcraft has never really done that. I don't know how to talk about it. It's can I talk about it? Can I talk about that one fight?
Nope.
No?
Spoiler cast.
Damn it. All right.
The one complaint that I do have about some of these fights is they have started adding more QuickTime event style maneuvers, and I just think this is a terrible idea overall.
I'm okay with it where they're adding them. Am I a fan of them? Do I think they're interesting? Yes. Do I think you could probably do it better? Yes. I just don't know how. It's hard because Warcraft does that a lot too, but they give you a button. Instead of it being like a QuickTime event, it's you click the button, and then the buttons is the one thing that saves you. I don't know how to make it more. I honestly don't know how to make it more interesting. I just don't know. I wish maybe there was I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm sure someone will figure it out. Not us, but somebody. All right, so let's jump into class changes. Was there anything else left with dungeons?
I think that's not too bad of an overall thing, but I definitely think these next 2 points are stuff we want to tap into.
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about class changes.
So
I don't know where to start.
As a healer, there was a huge amount of salt, particularly for white mages. Like at the beginning of this, when they had the whole group of streamers and media group, the media tour, pre-Stormblood, there was people were looking at this, they were theory crafting, they were saying, oh, like white mage is dead, no one's going to play white mage. And then we got to it, and like when we had this class, like our reaction was the same that we had from Yoshida, from some other content creators, like calm down, wait until you see everything. And really, I think that's held up. Like if you look at these classes, even when I started playing my white mage, I was very, very, I wasn't expecting it to be that much different, but then when I started playing it, I got a little bit worried. I wasn't healing as well as I used to. There was a lot more deaths. It was a lot more involved than it should have been. This is content that I should be pretty well geared for, being almost fully 270, and we were taking huge amounts of damage and huge hits. So seeing all these changes and then getting this mechanic with the lilies, which I still feel is pretty useless. It has a couple interesting uses, but I still am not a huge fan of it. But by the time that I hit 70 and I had leveled up through all these changes and gotten access to all of the abilities, I really am not finding a whole lot of issues with this. Like, yes, we are pure healing class as a white mage. We don't have as much utility or damage output as a scholar or an astrologian, which is probably the best healer at this point in terms of usefulness. White mage really isn't terrible. And there was a post on Reddit a couple days ago that basically, like, last week there was a huge outcry of scholars are terrible now. Why would anyone play a scholar? And everyone's complaining about astrologians being the best healers out there. But someone put a really interesting post on Reddit that basically outlined the 3 classes and how viable they are right now. And I think their summary was really, really well done in that, yes, scholars lost a bit, but they were extremely overpowered at the beginning. So really they're maybe a little bit more in line. Like they're not they're definitely not unviable. Like, they are still a very good healer, and they do offer a lot of damage advantages that White Mage and Astrologian don't. Astrologian is probably still the top of the line, in which case it provides pretty good healing, it has good damage output, and it has good raid utility with balance, which is insanely powerful. White Mage provides a lot of pure healing, and that was never something that we really wanted from a class. Like, you always wanted that. We never had encounters that were purely heal locked. Like, you didn't need a pure healer. You could always go with something with part healing and part utility. So that's why White Mage wasn't so great. And I still think that's the case. White Mage is a hugely powerful healer, but we haven't quite seen the content that they're going to release for this. So really, like, all three healers are still very much viable. They all have their own meta involved with them, and depending on what content we get and what we see, each pairing of healers might be completely reasonable to bring in this. So from the healer perspective, Astrologians are still insanely overpowered and also a lot of fun to play. Scholars might feel a little bit less powerful, but they're still really, really good, and White Mages have a lot of healing output. So, like, there's nothing to be worried about. All of the salt and all of that, the outcry and everything has been completely overblown, and there was actually no reason for it.
Yep. I can only speak on my Dark Knight, and that a lot of people were worried that Dark Knight was losing some utility, and that the fact that they weren't really getting any big changes like the Warrior or Paladin, that they felt like they weren't getting any love. I have to say that I found no issue. If anything, Dark Knights are no longer. I would never consider Dark Knight the emo class anymore. It is definitely the death metal class, with new spells like Blood Spiller and such, and the Blackest Night. I'm essentially a power metal band waiting to happen. So, I will also say that the tanking has changed slightly in the realm of the Dark Knight. That I feel the abilities that they gave me, how the changes of my MP regeneration versus me gaining it and me having to pop certain cooldowns. I am very much more like, they really did want to refocus, like, you are managing this tank. You are, like, that is the focus of this. Like, you're going to tank your, like, which is great for me, which is great. I need something like that. I can't play a tank that's just like a straightforward tank. Like, it bores me. Like, the fact that I have to manage my MP, manage my blood gauge, manage this new the Darkest Night shield, like, that's all things I have to take into consideration. And by the way, pop that effing shield. That's my pro tip. Like, in certain fights, that shield is your godsend, because the fact that it restores HP can save your ass a lot for certain fights, because there are some really healer intensive fights. And if you could pop that, if you have the MP to burn and you could pop it and get your MP back, let me tell you something. Darkest Night all day. But it's great. I love it. I love the feel of my Dark Knight. I think Dark Knights are still just as badass as they were. I don't even want to talk about the story. I'm gonna talk about the Dark Knight story next time. Oh, that story though, melt my heart. So good. I will be hard pressed. So hard pressed that is not the best class storyline in this game. There's nothing anyone can tell me that it's going to be different, because it will be the best. And when I tell you what the story is, everyone's going to hate me, because it's so good. Vladimir, we'll take that question. We'll answer it.
I'm answering it in chat.
Okay.
I don't know if we'll have time to do it on air as well.
All right. So there's more of the player skill than the class mechanic. Well, all right. We'll see. Well, I think that's enough for, like, this is really all we have to level so far as our main classes. So, but all right,
I'll address it quickly, just so that, because it's going to be faster than typing now.
Yeah.
So Vladimir asked, so it's more the player skill than the class mechanics when deaths happen on Trash. And to that, I'd say yes, that's probably the case. But with the big caveat is, I don't think that it's because players are bad. I think it's because there's some time to adjust to these changes that have happened. And a lot of times when this happens, like, some of the top tier, the hardcore players they might be able to adjust a little bit faster than the average player. So they'll kind of adjust and then they'll be able to keep going, which you'll see as, oh yeah, this is pretty much the same. But for an average player, it might take a little bit longer. So like, yes, both Flatus and I have done many of the, well, not all, but quite a few of the extreme primals. We've gone through the normal mode of most of the old 50 raids at Synced. We've done all of Alexander normal. We haven't touched the Savage content, so by no means are we doing like the top tier rating. But we've done the extremes. We've done all that sort of stuff, and we had no problems with that. We had amazing tanking. The healing was fine. We didn't really die. We could pull off the mechanics, and everything was great. We entered Stormblood, and we died 3 or 4 times in the first few dungeons, and we had mostly FC mates in those groups. Like all of the players that were there, we knew what we were doing. We still died stupid deaths as we were kind of adjusting to our own stuff.
Yeah. And
So,
that's why I will say this, between a tank, like, and this is coming from a person who primarily tanks and a person who primarily heals, that we are very forgiving of things like that. Like I don't get frustrated with people. I the first thing I ask when I go into something and I see someone's new, is
we spent 2.5 hours learning and relearning, and so I think we spent 3.5 hours learning and teaching both ourselves and other people's certain duties within Stormblood. We spent all day, or half the day at least, this past Saturday, spending time teaching people and ourselves, because we're not familiar with it, content on this. So
we can't say it, but it's a very specific. I was only gonna say it's a very specific dude.
It's a very, yeah.
So
and we did this kind of throughout the whole thing too. Like, we don't care if we die 1,000,000 times. Like, we understand people mess up, people go link dead, people have issues. My favorite time was I was going through one of these dungeons and this tank was freaking out at me because he was pulling literally every single mob when we were effectively at gear or under geared in this dungeon and had not run it before, and was yelling that we weren't keeping the heals up. And the DPS and I were just like, dude, chill. Stop pulling everything because you keep dying.
yeah.
I can't heal you when you're taking 30k hits.
Yeah, and that's a lot of it. A lot of people think that since they think they're hot shit, that they're able to go back through like they did in Heavensward and pull big groups. And a lot of the dungeons are, like I said, they're tank intensive, they're healing intensive. Not that they're like tank intensive in a way that, but the mobs hit harder, and we're just not we're not over geared for these things yet. So you can't just pretend and go in like, all right, well, I did Heavensward, I can do big pulls, everyone's gonna have to keep up with me. Like that's a dick thing to do. And you shouldn't do that. Like, you really should take it slow, get people used to the content, because a lot of them are still getting used to their classes. And that's, I would say, maybe going in the first, I would base it off launch, which was last Tuesday. Give people maybe 3-4 weeks, give them a month to really figure out, work through their classes, and also give them time, because Square may make emergency changes to certain classes. Like if they see like maybe Scholar is underperforming, it may be in line with other things, but if they see that, yeah, maybe it is slightly underperforming to where Square feels it should be, they may boost it up, and then you may see the meta change. And like, that's why I say, like, never, like, the meta doesn't matter. Like what Reddit posts, what people are finding out, it doesn't matter, because it's going to change, and then it's going to change again, and then it's going to change again. Play the class you love playing, because at the end of the day, you're just going to have more fun with that.
The meta really applies to people trying to push the envelope. Like, they're trying to hit they're min-maxing, they're trying to get the most out of their character. And really, for, I would say, at least 95%, if not more, of the people playing this game, that doesn't matter. You could play the worst tank class, but you could still be an amazing tank for all the content that you run. You could be the, like, White Mage has been seen as the worst healer, and yet I've been able to heal every single piece of content that I've come across. And yes, I'm not running Savage raids or anything, so I might not be the most optimal thing for my class, but that doesn't matter for most people.
It doesn't. And honestly, if we go through, like, honestly, if we end up going through that stuff and we find, like, we'll be the first people to tell you, like, I don't understand why people are even fucking min-maxing. Like, I know why they do it. It's for speed. At the end of the day, it's just how fast can we get through the content.
And for like the remaining, like say 5%, I don't know the actual numbers, I am making them up. But for all those people that are doing those sorts of raid, there is even a minority within that group that's actually trying to push for like worldwide first clearing and stuff, like who want to be the first to do all these things. And for them, by all means, that's what they want to do.
All I want to do is push to see that fucking cutscene, that special cutscene in fucking Omega. That's all. Like that's all. Like honestly, that's the only reason I want to go through it. To be like, I did Savage, so I could see this one fucking cutscene. I did it. Maybe I'll get some gear out of it.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right, we're very, very low on time. I want to go through this really, really quick. Everything. I think actually we should dedicate an entire episode to the post 4.0 changes for this, because PvP has changed, and it has changed a lot.
Oh yeah. Woo! So good.
I have seen a few people that are like, "Oh, PvP is terrible and it's going to be horrible." But the most amazing thing that I've seen is I have actually seen people post, "Holy crap, PvP is fun."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing. I enjoy playing PvP.
Gee, I wonder why.
Now, the biggest caveat to that is it's holy shit, I enjoy PvP as a healer.
Dude,
I'm really sad, and I am really disappointed that I can't do what I used to do in PvP, which was troll people, push them off the edge, and like chain sleep them and deal damage and stuff. Healer abilities don't allow me to do any of that anymore. I can actually push people off the edge, but that's it. My damage sucks, but I can heal still, and now that I have to focus on healing, I can kind of keep people up a lot better, and that is sometimes the difference between winning and losing in front lines, at least.
I will say that if you have good healers on your group and your section, I'm telling you, like 9 out of 10 times you'll win. Like if you get a good group, like good people doing like healers sticking on your group and healing them up, you could, no matter what party takes you on, man. Whew.
I think the best PvP group we had this past week was we had 3 healers, 2 tanks, and a DPS class, and we absolutely destroyed the other teams.
Yep.
This was in front lines.
Yep. We played a great. I mean, it's been mostly Shatter, but once we got a secure.
I don't think I've done secure yet.
Yeah, we did. Remember the first time we went in, we got no, not the first time, but early on we got secure. Was it C's? No, yeah, we did secure. Remember, and we were at her and we capped 4 of the nodes and we held them. Majority of the time, we held them. Like I was pretty shocked. Like I was like, really happy about.
Shatter come more into the fold as well. Like, or sorry, Shatter, not sorry, C's and
secure.
Secure. Thank you. Like both of those I find are really fun maps, and now that they're not capped to 50, I do like seeing those in the rotation now.
Like there's something I would like to see though, because I don't feel I'd see them enough. That's my only thing, is I still see Shatter more, and I would like to see Season Secure a little bit more. I'd also like to see bonuses. Like I would love to see a week where if you run Shatter, you get a bonus to Verity or whatever, or you get bonus Wolf Marks in PvP XP. Like they could do stuff like that, like Warcraft's doing. Like, but this is setting a great base to build upon PvP going forward. So I'm interested to see what the new PvP type they said that wasn't coming in 4.0 but is pushed back to 4.1. I'm super interested in that now because I really do want to see what it is. So
I think it's also kind of interesting too. Like right now we have for dungeons, for roulettes, we have the expert ones, we have the 50-60 ones, we have the main scenario quest line, we have leveling dungeon, we have trial roulette. But for PvP, we have frontline roulette. We just have one there. So I think they could do something a little bit more interesting with that to kind of entice people to do it. So maybe they have like a, like you said, like a trial or a PvP of the week kind of thing, where you have a roulette that's like all C's, or a roulette that changes. So like maybe one week it's C's, then the next week it's Shatter. Like you just have a very specific roulette that kind of does a weekly rotation or something. But I think they could definitely add more PvP roulettes or PvP weeklies or daily type stuff that to entice people to do various things.
Mm-hmm.
One of the interesting things that EverQuest 2 did when they had their PvP, when they were introducing all these changes, was I think it was, I can't remember if it was daily or weekly quests, but each of the quests would require you to do a certain number of a different type of match. So maybe every day it would be like complete 5 matches of this type or 5 matches of this type. And then a weekly would be complete 5 matches of this and 5 matches of this and 5 matches of this. So it forced you to do all the different types in order to get different pieces of gear, get different tokens and whatnot.
So that would be so bad. I think that would also force more of the rotation to pop. So
You could also do it with like challenge log, like complete 5 Seize, 5 Shatter, and 5 Secure, and then you get like double the experience that you would normally get from completing one of those.
Yeah, and I will say this, please, Square, do me a favor, just one. Please let me queue with multiple people for the frontline log daily.
Without the frontline freelancer, or with frontline freelancer being default now, I think that's a completely reasonable design decision.
Like, we just let us have it. It's point like
we had it with dungeons and trials and everything. We might as well go right to PvP now, and I think that's just a holdover from the whole frontline freelancer thing not existing and then being off by default. Now it's on by default when you're in a party. All is good.
Yeah, might as well. Well, I mean, everything else I think we could save for, next week.
We could have multiple. Actually, I think this is probably a good idea. We should probably do multiple spoiler casts and focus on specific things in each of them. Because I think that if we try to do it in one, we will go way over time.
We can do that.
I'm still thinking that we'll go over time on each of them, but
we could break it into 2 parts.
Between multiple parts of the storyline and some of the dungeon trial stuff that we want to go over, I think that in the next couple of weeks we should do some interesting spoiler cast stuff.
And if you want to talk more about PvP, I may be able to talk to a certain streamer, big time guy named Joe, who does a lot of PvP stuff. So see if he'd be willing to come on our show.
We'll play it by ear.
Yeah. It never fails. I'm just saying. I'll ask questions and maybe pull some strings. I'll see what I can do. Joe never fails. Question mark. On
that note, I don't think I can add anything else to this now.
I can't either. So it's not really closing thoughts, but I do have something that I do want to go out on. Not every day or any other time, or really do I ever get personal on this show, but I think this is the one time that I will spill some of my personal life into the show. And it's for a good reason, if anything. Last week and the week before that, I was feeling down, not only just general depression, really, about myself, and it wasn't great. I wasn't my normal self, which is rare because my normal self is take me as the host of Maelstrom Radio, which is me personified a bit. Like I'm a little more laid back than I am on the show. I tend to push a little more of the envelope on the show than I do normally, like on chat or in Discord or in the game. Still make jokes, but I'm not talking about like launching babies. The puns are still there. I can't take those away. But I did have a bout of depression, and I made the choice to go talk to somebody, which is sometimes hard to do when you're battling depression. It's not easy to want to pick yourself up and make that call and say I need help. So I'm telling you that I did, because if you are like me and you have a pride issue sometimes, or you just don't think you can make the call, or talk to a friend, talk to somebody. It's the outpouring of people from this community was mind-boggling, because I didn't think, when I posted that I was going to go seek help, I didn't think much of it. And then the people I talked to on a daily basis reached out, but then there were people that just were fans of the show, just listened and have never reached out to me before, reached out and talked to me. And I was just shocked. So thank you all. So it's I've never felt so much love from a community than I do from the Final Fantasy community. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And so, on that note, I got nothing else. So for Shin, Flatus, and we probably should do like show promo. We should probably like whore ourselves out. I forgot about that. But you know what? Let me do one of these. I'll take share of show promotion. I could probably knock it out right before the thing. Shin's waving goodbye, so everyone knows. And I will do one of these, and I'm gonna click a button and do that. You can find us weekly here Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, live here at twitch.tv/Maelstrom Radio. You can find our recorded show on iTunes, Google Play Music, and Stitcher. Please give us a like, favorite, and follow, and all the stars and all the ratings on iTunes and Google Play. That's how people find us. You can find us at maelstromradio.com. You can email us at show@maelstromradio.com. You can find us on Twitter at maelstrom_radio. And you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Maelstrom Radio. Thank you all so much. My name is Flatus. My co-host is Shinter. Next week, we'll spoil the hell out of this game for you. But until See You Swallows All, keep listening.
Maelstrom Radio is a production of MaelstromRadio.com, Blackfire Media Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. Opening theme provided by Benjamin Anthony James. You can find more of their music over at soundcloud.com/Ben773. Our outro is provided by Sodo. You can find more of their music over at soundcloud.com/Sodo. Views and opinions expressed on this episode are those of Maelstrom Radio and their hosts, and do not reflect the views and opinions of Square Enix. And until See Swallows All, keep listening.